Hello everybody, Scott Weaver with Factory Direct Designers Workroom. Today we're going to go over how to put a grommet in your Roman shade. The purpose of putting a grommet in would be if you want your strings to run through the backside, going through the shade and going to the front of the shade in order to put your pull cord onto the front. This is particularly useful when you have an inside mounted shade and you don't want to reach behind the shade to pull it up, which distorts the pleating. So it doesn't matter whether you're using a rollee system like this one is, which is a continuous cord to raise or lower, or a manual pull with the standard clutch. It'll work for either system. And if you notice on this shade, we've got the string here, the continuous cord, and we can raise or lower easily from the front of the unit. And I'll show you how this looks when you flip this up. You will see that there's grommets coming through here and up into the roll ease bar. And on my table, you'll notice that I've just put grommets into this shade. And the first step to doing this is you're marking it off for your grommets. Now, if you watch my previous videos, it'll show you how many rings you should be putting both vertical and horizontally across. So make sure you're watching that. And this particular one has bars going across to help keep it straight. It doesn't matter. You can just use regular rings. That doesn't have nothing to do with putting the grommets or having it raise and lower from the front of the shade. So having said that, you want the location of your grommets halfway between your last set of rings that are up at the top and your top head rail, which would be a board that you would be mounting. Here, you'd want it approximately halfway. That's where I like to put mine. Half the distance between the last set of rings that you're putting on at the top of the shade and the board. And the next step is, after you've marked the locations, to put plenty of pins like I did at the top and the bottom of where your mark is to make sure that your lining does not move before you punch the hole. Now, you can get a grommet kit at an Ace hardware store, a Lowe's home department store, Home Depot. Any of those hardware stores will have a complete kit which will include the top and bottom pieces like so, and it also should include a fabric punch or a hole punch to put your hole in, and several grommets. I don't know a particular amount, but buy as many packages as you need to get the job done. Now the grommets itself, it doesn't really matter what size they are as long as the string can go through. However, you don't want one too small or a huge one, just something midway. It's kind of a judgment call on your part. The grommets that I'm using on here are number 2. I believe these are number 1, but I don't know what part of the country or what part of the state you're going to be buying them. So, and sometimes that does vary. Okay. So, let me show you the parts up close. Starting with the front of the grommet. This is the front of the grommet. It looks like this. That's going to go to the face of the shade. And you notice the part that has the backing looks like this. So you want the very front of the grommet going facing this way. This is the back of the grommet. Okay, this is the back grommet ring. Now you'll notice on the ring that it's a shiny part that's smooth, and then the other side of it is indented. Okay, now that indented part is the part that is going to go facing down onto your shade as you're putting it in. And this is going to be to your lining side of it, and the full grommet is going to be on the front side of it. So keeping that in mind. The next step would be this block, this ring right here, and you'll notice that on one side it has an inset, and that is to receive the grommet so it doesn't move so easily. The bottom of it is just flat. And this, of course, is the other side of it, which is meant to go in like so. So when you're putting your fabric through, this is going to come down first. Your fabric is going to go on top of this. This is going to go to the back side with the, I'm going to say, flange side of it going down in between your material. And then you're going to take this part and then you're going to hammer it down. So we're going to show you exactly how that is. Starting with cutting the fabric, punching it. And you will want a block like such as a 2x4, block of wood, a cutting board will work. I just so happen to have this block. It's kind of like a thick cutting board per se. And wherever you are putting your mark, I'm just going to put a mark on there. And don't forget to pin it, making sure it's in place. Take your cutter, put it on top of your mark. Give it several punches here. And a lot of times you won't cut straight through. You might have a little jagged edge depending on the thickness of your fabric. If you do, don't pull it. Take a pair of scissors and carefully cut it out. After you've done that, you are going to take the bottom piece as I described. You're going to put your grommet on top of it. You're going to take your fabric, and of course it's going to be the face side down if it's a print. Face it down on top of the grommet. Put it straight through, just like that. If I just lost it. Okay. Take the back of the grommet, the flange side, which is the indented side, facing down onto the fabric. Taking the other the punch here, bringing it on here. Give it several whacks. And that's what it's going to look like. Just like that. So now that you know how to put a grommet on, if you haven't watched my other tutorials regarding the ring spacing, please go back. Follow me with that. It'll show you exactly how many apart your ring should be, going vertically and horizontally. And it'll show you how to tie the rings on. It also shows you how to string a shade. And my next up video is going to be showing you how to mount this, because this happens to be mounted to the back side of the board. And then you have a valance here to cover everything, so you don't see it. So those are my next videos coming up very shortly. Thank you for watching. Scott Weaver from Factory Direct Designers Workroom.